We find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games. Today we hover over the beautiful blue waters of Hawaii as the Allied main base, or at least the American main base, in Gary Grigsby's War in the Pacific, Admiral's edition. And yesterday we resolved the previous turn, the December 18th turn. In this game, of course, that takes us all the way to December 19th, and that's where we'll start today, almost to the winter solstice in the year 1941. Now, the last turn and what we resolved yesterday, there wasn't a ton of action. Some things were bombed. There was some submarine destroyer action, just a usual day in the war, but nothing major where we stood up and said, oh my gosh, the world has changed. It's pretty much where it was after the December 17th turn. Now, we have chased this submarine a little bit about, and so, we continue to do all of this ASW off of the coast of Hawaii, off the coast of Pearl Harbor. Let's look at Pearl Harbor really quickly before we go look at all the stats. One thing I did want to point out is we now have the Enterprise here. So we have the Enterprise. We also have, there's another carrier, there it is. We also have the Saratoga here. Might as well just change this to CB. I always like to have the name of the actual carrier up in the name. Okay, CB Saratoga, that is there. And then the Lexington should be getting close. Where is the Lexington? Where are you, aircraft carrier? There it is. There is the Lexington. The USS Lexington steaming north with 5 destroyers, 3 cruisers. So it has some AA, it has some ASW. It's not very good, but it's some. And as you may remember, we steamed the Lexington south, then east. Now we're coming back north. And if we look at, let's bring up, yeah, there we go. It should be, it's getting 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4.5 hexes per pulse, which means 9 per turn. So we'll do the other half, 1, 2, 3, 4. Should be about right here on December 20th, December 21st. Should be pulling into Pearl Harbor just in time for a very Merry Christmas for the boys aboard the Lexington. So yes, we are moving that north. We will also be getting the Yorktown in, I think, 10 or 11 turns. Well, I guess they are almost like moves. In 10 or 11 turns, we will be getting the Yorktown, and that will be coming in at San Diego. We are currently moving some destroyers that way. Now, are these those destroyers? Are they? Let's see. No, these are only the 2s. I think our destroyers, the good ones, are still down here in the penalty box. Sometimes I lose track of just how far. Yeah, here they all are. So we've got this group that's going to go into San Diego. Well, I have them going into LA first. They're going to then take some things out from LA for some ASW cover. And then I have these called the ASW Yorktown, these 4 destroyers. They will be going into port at San Diego, fuel up, let the boys get some R&R. Then we'll put them in with the Yorktown, and we'll have some really nice support because those bump all the way up to a level 4 ASW as opposed to a 2. So these are really the first American destroyers that have a decent complement of ASW. We've been running a lot of 2 on a scale of 1 to 9. So we've been, well, 0 to 9, I guess, because a lot of these ships have 0. But we will finally be getting some that have a 4. Hello, Stanley. Good evening to you, sir. It is Monday. I apologize for that. But what can we do? What can we do? All we can do is run this war to the best of our abilities, even on a Monday. It's a beautiful day here. I'm getting ready for my trip, so I've had to kind of, that's why I'm about 10 minutes late, 10 or 12 minutes late. Just life stuff, stuff that you don't want to hear about, believe me. Let's go look at Well, first of all, let's look at the intelligence report. Let's go see the stats from last time and see what happened. Sorties, we ran out 3245. The Japanese almost up to 2100, but we're still running about 1100 more sorties a day than they are. Well, a little bit more than that. Their main task force still has not appeared. We are now, what, 12 days out from Pearl Harbor Day. So they've had 11 days from that day to get back home, fuel up, rearm. We should be seeing them emerge sometime in the very near future. I'm surprised we haven't seen them already. Air-to-air losses, we had one. The Japanese had one last turn. Not great for us. I mean, the Japanese are running a lot of bombing missions. You should be getting the better of a lot of those bombing missions unless they're bringing along a lot of Zeros. The Zeros it's just a better aircraft than what we have on the Allied side at this point in the war. And so, you know, if to the extent we get in dogfights with Zeros, we should be losing those. But I would like to be killing off some more bombers. That's something that I hope that we can continue to build on. I mean, we're up 106 to 56 in the air-to-air losses. That's acceptable. That's not bad. But again, they're running a lot of those offensive missions where you hope to pick off bombers. Destroyed in the field, we had 0. You know I always like that. Destroyed by flak, nothing. I wish our AA was maybe bringing more down. We've done 16 in 12 turns. I mean, at that rate, I guess by the end of the war, we'll almost have over 1,000 Japanese planes by flak. Operational losses, we did have one. We limped one home, but it couldn't quite make it. And so therefore, that aircraft is now scuttled. We did have an operational loss, 37 for the campaign, 50 for the Japanese. We now have 375 political points, so that's really building. That's a good thing. P. Warner says he has seen a few ships with 11 ASW. Yeah, later in the war, you are correct. They can get some buffs and some radar and, you know, like really advanced radar. You're right. It can go, I shouldn't have said, 1 to 9 or 0 to 9, I guess. It can go a little bit above 9. I always think of it as, that kind of scale though, 0 to 9. Manic Monday, what are we talking, what are the Bengals? Was that, you're going back to the 80s on me, Stanley? Good day, David, how are you? Let's see, what is it, just another Manic Monday, was that the Bengals? I think it was. I used to think the lead singer was cute. That's all I remember about that band. Walk Like an Egyptian, right? Political points, 375. It's nice to have a lot of those about. Our score keeps staying very consistent here at around 10,800. Obviously, as the Allies, to this extent you're not losing in the overall score every turn, you're winning early in the war because, eventually as the Allies, you have overwhelming force, and so the Japanese have got to take as much as they can as fast as they can early on and then try to hold on. It's kind of the opposite of the war in the East, or is it? I mean, I guess it's kind of the same, right? The Axis side, the Germans, the Axis allies have to try to run out, take as much as they can, and then hold on for dear life. And so I guess, it's not the opposite. It's exactly the same. I just happen to be playing the Axis in War in the East, but same idea. They need to get as much as they can. We're holding this score consistent. They're really not picking up too many new bases. I think they got Victoria Point this time, and we'll go look at that, but other than that, they really haven't picked up a whole lot. Now, they are moving towards Manila and Clark Field. They'll take the rest of the Philippines within the next 4 to 6 weeks, so there is that. Bases controlled, okay, we just covered that. We have lost fewer points than the Japanese have in the air war so far, but we've lost quite a bit more on the ground war. That's to be expected. You are going to lose most major battles in China. That doesn't mean you can't do some nice counterattacks or throw the Japanese off, but basically in China, you're going to be losing those battles day in and day out. And what you have is a lot of manpower. There are a lot of Chinese in 1941, just as there are today, and they will continually be showing up new cores, old cores reforming. You just get a lot of manpower out there, but we are losing points on that. So far, we've had 28 ships sunk at 435 points. I must say, for this point in the game, that's outstanding. We just have not lost many ships at all. The Japanese simply cannot win this game or this war, and if this is going to stay like this. Now, next turn they may get down into our shipping lane somewhere and this changes a little bit, but we have not lost anything, and we can go here. We have not lost anything other than what we lost on Pearl Harbor on the first day. That's really worth much. I mean, we've lost, some 8-point ships, some 7-point ships. We get down here, several 1s and 2s. Look, it's the cost of doing business to some degree. Luckily, we can talk about it that way because these are little pixels and not real men, but it's the cost of doing business, and I think, even the Allied commanders during World War II would say the same, is you have to try to maintain it within acceptable losses, and certainly in what has been sunk on our side, it is beyond acceptable. We're doing excellently when it comes to what kind of ships we're losing. They are just smaller cargo ships, really. I mean, we've lost a couple of transports. We did lose the 2 big battleships at Pearl Harbor, but hey, I mean, that was already baked in the cake. And so that's all going really, really well. The lovely 80s, Stanley, it was a more innocent time, was it not? I grew up in the 80s, had my Atari 2600. I got my Atari 2600 for Christmas, I want to say in 1982, but it may have been 1983. But it's still the best Christmas present I ever got. I got that along with the game Pitfall. And if you've ever seen Pitfall, it was a side scroller where he jumps up on vines and goes over crocodiles' heads. And I was hooked. That was the start. My friends. Loved Pitfall, loved Decathlon. We used to go through joysticks on Decathlon because we got this method down where you could hold it under your leg and get the joystick to move way too fast for what the game was programmed for. And so you could pole vault like 39 feet and do crazy stuff like that. P. Warner loved Pitfall, of course. That was a great game. One of the great early Atari 2600 games. Then I was jealous. My friend got Intellivision, which I thought was just, complete leap forward. But I stuck with my Atari 2600. I think I was the first kid in the neighborhood to get a Nintendo 64, and the Atari 400. Yeah. That's the good stuff, man. I tell you what, you love games if you were playing games on that sucker. Just little pixels. That was barely beyond Pong and stuff, but to my young eyes, it looked like heaven. And yeah, gosh, when I got that Nintendo 64, I was I don't know if you remember the Nintendo Power magazine, but I was constantly trying to take screenshots so I could be like number 312th in the world on basic Nintendo Golf and stupid junk like that. Who knows how many hours of my life. I probably could have cured cancer had I gone down that route rather than playing the Nintendo 64 till my eyes almost literally bled. Anyway, okay, aircraft losses. What do we got? We kind of saw those. There weren't many. Group reinforcement schedule. What do we have coming in? We've got some Catalinas at Batavia. We've got some Kingfishers coming into LA. Hurricanes coming into Cape Town. We'll need to figure out a way to get those out of there because I did do something offline last turn. Remember all of that AA that we've got at Cape Town? I got that out of there. I finally just put together what's kind of a super transport force, way too powerful and too good of ships to be moving AA to Rangoon. So instead, they're just going to take them to Colombo, and then we'll take them from there. We got some recon, the O-47As coming into San Fran. Some Sky Trains. That just sounds cool. It sounds like the C-47 Sky Train. Sounds like something out of a James Bond movie. That's going into Brisbane. Then we have a little bit of a delay. As the Allied player, you look at these, what's coming up, and you're like, what? there's a gap in here. I'm sure the Japanese players are jealous. We've got Hudson's, Bolos, and then we've got those Banshees coming into Brisbane. I can't wait to get those, and we can have kind of a back and forth where we want to put those. I've had people say stick those in the Dutch East Indies and mess up with a lot of the Japanese shipping. I'm partial to put them maybe in Moresby, Nomaya, Darwin, kind of in that area. We'll see. And then you see the Yorktown, we get some Wildcats, some Dauntless, some Devastator. The usual lineup on an American carrier at this time is pretty much, you know, the Dauntlesses, the Wildcats, the Devastators. And that's what you've got on all of our carriers at this point anyway. Okay, so that's what we've got coming up plane-wise. Let's go look at our top pilots. No, we still don't have an ace. GT, I always want to call him PT Beauregard, like after the Southern Civil War general, but it's GT Beauregard. All right, I don't want to associate him with the Confederates. He's a good American Stars and Stripes soldier out here. GT Beauregard. He has 4 kills. Now, looking down the fatigue here, I also like to look at this for the fatigue. A lot of those Flying Tigers are getting really fatigued. I mean, 26, pretty damn high, really. And we need to go back those off a little bit. Unfortunately, and this may have been general error on my part, is we've wasted up a lot of this fatigue on turns when the Japanese didn't actually bomb Rangoon. And now they're probably always going to be bombing Rangoon, and we got a bunch of tired pilots. So we'll have to go scale that back a little bit, but still no ace. We've got a lot of guys that are getting close. We've got Burgard with 4, Roberts, Keenan, Hedman, Newkirk, Rossi. Sounds like, you know, I'm listing off the Yankees roster in 1964 or something. Bertling, Neal, Billings, they're all there. All good American boys out there flying over Rangoon. They've got 3 kills. We'll have quite a few aces before all of this time is done. Pilot replacements, we'll go look at that some other time. I haven't been paying a lot of attention to what we're doing with our pilot pool. We've just been training up people, so that's fine. We already looked at ship sunk. What do we have coming in? Let's see. We have got, well, backwards. There we go. What have we got coming in? We've got the Crescent City, the La Cordillera, coming into Perth, of all places, the AK La Cordillera. Sounds like a Spanish food company. British Trader shows up at Abaddon. That's a nice tanker that we'll get in there. Of that same class, there's a lot of them called like the British Trader, British this, that, the other. They're all kind of the same tanker class. We've got some things coming in at Balboa. Let's get to the headliners. A lot of cargo. You guys don't care about cargo, do you? Yeah, like the British Energy. This is another one of those tankers. Same kind of class coming in. Well, I guess the real headliner is, of course, the Yorktown in 11 at beautiful San Diego, California. Gorgeous town. British Duchess. I'm going to point this out all the time since I said that now. We've got a lot of YPs. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of cars. You just get a lot of stuff as the Allied player. So in it comes. Ground reinforcement schedule. Where do we get some troops? Let's get some troops out there. A lot of these guys are landlocked, as you can see. 27th Infantry, 108th Infantry. We do get a new unit. Gosh, talk about just bad timing. So you're in the 301st. This regiment, the artillery regiment, and they say, hey, the Japanese are about to get to Bataan. We need you to go there and fire off some artillery. That's when maybe you have an accident, that pull a muscle, say that you can't make the ship. Jimmy Stewart or Cary Grant. Stanley, I got to catch up with you here in the comments, man. What are we talking about now? I love Jimmy Stewart, by the way. Yeah, games were expensive in the 80s. I mean, I think some of those Atari games you paid like 29 or 39 bucks for. I mean, in 1983 dollars, what is that nowadays? I mean, that's well over 100 bucks. Yeah, for sure. Oh, SSI. Dave, you're speaking my language. SSI, SSG. what great companies those were. The hours of enjoyment that the developers at those companies gave me, I feel like I owe them any future earnings and maybe a firstborn. Um, yes, Stanley, I know they did fly as pilots in World War II. I also love Cary Grant. Always good to Cary Grant and Jimmy Stewart. I like those Hitchcock movies that those two are in, like North by Northwest, Vertigo. We go down the list. Um, or George Bush. Yes, actually, the original George Bush, George H.W. Bush. You know, you guys probably already know this. I don't know if everybody knows it, but he was shot down in the Pacific. I think he floated around for, I want to say like 30 hours or something like that. I don't know the exact time. I know it was not just like for 15 minutes. Like he was out there for over a day, maybe two, floating in the Pacific before. Hey, thanks for the sub, Michael Tarbard. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about, of course, we're talking about George H.W. Bush. I'm sure that that's what you thought you were getting here. Michael Woods also subscribed. Thanks, Michael. Um, so anyway, yes, George H.W. Bush was out floating around in the Pacific for a couple of days. I think he was, completely dehydrated to the point of near death. But anyway, I digress, I guess. Ground withdrawal. Do we have anything withdrawing soon? Oh yeah, I guess we do. Oh, this is that convoy. We didn't really talk about this yet. The game has to have a way. This is at Cape Town. So and you can see it here, these convoys, every so many days, so 1 day, 23 days, 62 days, these convoy uh, tiles show up. And let's go look at those really quickly. Here, this is it, all right? And so what this is trying to replicate the fact that Cape Town is getting a lot of convoys that are coming in from England, from other parts of the British, system, I guess you'd say, the Commonwealth. They are getting things in here. And rather than have you do all of the ships, these tiles just kind of arrive here and bring stuff. But then they withdraw, and then you get another one. It's nothing you have to do anything with, nothing you have to worry about. They are just kind of almost like auto convoys, I guess, but they represent them with a tile here. And so I guess we hadn't really talked about them. Yeah, is Jack Kennedy in the game? Holy smokes. Yeah, we'll get the Kennedys and the Bushes out here. Republican versus Democrat. They probably had some good debate. They could have some good debate if we station them together somewhere. Yeah, so anyway, that's those convoys. That's what those are. And I guess that kind of gets us through the information report here. We could go look at some of this stuff, but you know what I've already turned on, which is really all the Filipino stuff. We haven't had to turn on reinforcement stuff really. Other than that, we did do some of the Dutch stuff last time or before last turn. So over the last 3 or 4 live streams, we did turn on some of the, I say turn on. It's always confusing, right? Right now we're stockpiling it, and it's a Y. It's a yes, we're stockpiling it. I guess by turning it on, I'm really turning off the stockpile. I'm turning it to no, so that all of that stuff starts to flow down to the units where we've said we want it. As the Japanese show up here more, and maybe, hey, maybe this is their main task force. I don't know. I don't think it is, but it could be. We've cited. Well, actually, this looks like an invasion force. I'm glad I came up here. Ship sighted 5, moving southwest. All right. But I show a cruiser and 3 transports. That's almost certainly heading for Kuching, Sengkuang, up in this area, usually Kuching. This may be another invasion force. Now, this is 2 light cruisers and a destroyer that we're showing right now. But it could obviously be more. That would be a normal kind of lead in to an invasion of Brunei, Miri, Jesselton. it could be out here. So, you know, landing on the in North Borneo or Brunei or Sarawak out here, or coming straight to Kuching, which I guess is also technically part of Sarawak. I always kind of just think of this as being the island of Borneo, but you know, there are some distinctions out here. But if I say they're landing in Borneo, I just mean the whole island, really. Um, yeah, so it looks like we've got an invasion force on the way. Um, yeah, let's go float around the map and look around. Then maybe we'll look at the intelligence reports and we'll see how actually intelligent they are. This turn, we'll probably ships that are now at Abaddon, doing the old Abaddon Karachi run. That sounds like something out of a movie. I'm doing the Abaddon Karachi run. Could be, you know, like a drug movie or something potentially. Uh, oh, thank JSIC. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you ever have any questions, let me know. Probably the best time to catch me is now. I try to answer all the YouTube questions that I can. You know, the page is growing really fast. So I used to wake up and have two questions, and I would think about it and you know, answer very thoughtfully. Maybe even try to be funny if I can be. Um, Now I wake up and I've got like, you know, 32 notifications, which is great. You know, I love the fact that people are interacting and asking questions. And a lot of times, a lot of the commenters here on the stream or otherwise on YouTube will answer those questions before I can even get to it. Stanley, don't say tech problems. No, no buffering. I thought we were over this. Crud. Okay, let me. Hmm. Well, I bumped this up to 1080p, and that was likely the problem. I said I didn't want to do it. I can't change it during the middle of the stream. Uh, P Warner, I didn't quit. I'm not going. I don't quit. Uh, wow. So it really flipped out, huh? Um, Yesterday, somebody in War of the East, you know, really wanted me to go to 1080p because I do understand for that it makes a difference. I'm just learning with my internet, which passes every speed test or whatever, that 720p is where I really need to stream, and that's where most streamers stream, right? But for a game like this, it's got like fine small print. I do understand that 1080p is, you know, desirable, preferable, whatever you want to call it. But we just have, you know, buffering or we have drops, and I hate that. That's worse than not being able to read the exact little number, I think. So I'll go back to 720p after this one. I was going to try it. I thought, well, maybe, you know, I messed around with some of the settings. I thought, maybe it's better. 900p. Now, P Warner, you're just messing with me now. Are you going to say just make up numbers like 893p or something like that? I guess I could. I mean, I can do whatever, but this and it seems War in the East just don't. I don't have the problems with them at 720p that I do at 1080 for whatever reason. So anyway, back to whatever we were talking about. Hopefully you guys can see me. If not, yell at me in the comments again. But later when I do War in the East, I am going to go back down to 720p because nothing more frustrating than when somebody drops. When we cut out, or at least you guys let me know we cut out, I was just saying that there's a lot of comments on YouTube now as the channel's grown. So I try to get to all of them, but usually someone answers them before I can hear, and or, you know, YouTube or Twitch, either one. When I'm live streaming, I generally live stream every day at 10 a.m. Pacific Coast time. So just drop by if you have a question, or leave them in the comments on YouTube, and eventually I will answer them. I hope. What's going on? Okay, looks like we got a lot of stuff in at Aiden. Oh, I know what I want. Well, let's flip around the map. Then I'll come back. I'll come back and we'll go look at our new arrivals. We did get some new arrivals this time. None of them that exciting, but something. One thing I wanted to point out here, we did lose Victoria Point, and so it's been getting bombed. And as you can see here, its base force is really in trouble. I mean, these guys, you know, they're not going to be able to outrun the Japanese here. You see the Japanese kind of circling around here for their eventual ascent up Burma to Molmine, then Pegu, then Rangoon. And so that's all coming. You see these big Japanese units, this, you know, maybe a division, maybe just a couple of battalions, but at least there's 3 of them that we're seeing that are now have taken Victoria Point. So they're game on. Right now, they're going to start coming up the peninsula here to Molmine and Pegu. Hopefully, we can hold them there. Stanley says you did put some cues in the old Let's Play so far behind, but do look. I will look, Stanley. I will look. I will go back and see. I try to clear out the questions each day, but yeah, P Warner. I'm going to drop this one back to 720. No reason to log off now and try to do it again. It always records, so if you guys miss something, you know, I know that's not the most satisfying answer, but when it comes up on YouTube later, because you see it out in the stream now, but then YouTube takes the recording, I guess, and puts it underneath my little thumbnail. So if there was some part that cut out or something like that, you missed something, you can kind of fast forward through that, and it should be a good recording. There's none of the buffering and whatnot. Once they upload that video, sometimes it takes them a couple of hours though. So they've turned the corner of Victoria Point. What is this? Mergui, Tavoy, Molmine. They're going to start moving up this way. Now we don't see any action here. Now remember, we did invade Thailand here. So we've got a lonely little invasion force coming down here. Why did we do that? That's really to help the AI. That activates all of the garrison units in Thailand for the Japanese AI. It's something that you know, the AI needs to make it a competitive game. So we're kind of, you know, throwing them a bone by doing that. Eventually we'll take this unit and go right back up here to Tangui. Also this turn, we had some action out here. Now, the Japanese are moving north from Canton. They're coming up here to Wu Chao. We, meanwhile, are moving things down to Wu Chao. Now, that doesn't look like it's moving down. Where is this going? That's going to Lu Chao. Okay, that's fine. Lu Chao, Wu Chao. You say potato, I say potato. He's going to Lu Chao here. Lu Chao is very important. We're trying to get back there. Now, this force is actually, I believe, retreating. No, it's in combat mode at Nanning. Okay, I should have looked first. It's at Nanning. It's going here. Now, this unit, you may say, what the heck is this unit doing? It's crossing over the Indochina border here to also do the exact same thing we're doing in Thailand to activate the garrison units here. It just helps the Japanese AI without going too deep into it. Not to attack Chiang Mai, I did. We are building up Cox's Bazar. I did that offline last time. We are moving some things down to Cox's Bazar here from Calcutta. So those are coming down here. Chittagong's being built up. I do want to get something into Akyab here because obviously, as you can see, this could be a starting point for the Japanese moving up towards Calcutta. You just can't lose Calcutta. Or at least you don't want to. I have before and recovered, but it's makes things very difficult if Calcutta falls. So yeah, Akyab, Cox's Bazar, Chittagong, you know, just look at all of these places where the Japanese could potentially start an invasion of India itself. Starting with Calcutta, which is one of the more important locations in the game. Out here at Burma, now let's go look at Rangoon. Let's look at the Flying Tigers. They're tired, gents, and I'm only running them at 50 cap. Their fatigue is 19. You really historically shouldn't be taking much from the pool when it comes for pilots. Oh, over here, I'm sorry, I pointed at the right place. I pointed at the wrong place and said the wrong thing. Be careful with getting new pilots. You can get new pilots into these squadrons. It's very ahistorical. Uh, uh, Historically, there were 99 Flying Tiger pilots. Uh, we started here, I think, 27, 27, 27. So it's like, 81. So you can, being historical, go get another 10 or 15. Anything more than that, and you're playing fast and loose, folks, with the world. Um, P. Warner says Akyab. That's where the action's happening. Interesting. Okay, gosh darn, I'd like to watch that. Uh, Now you've got me interested. I hope that happens in this game. I want to see stuff like that. I want to see the Japanese get a lot more aggressive here. Look at all of the stuff we have at Rangoon. We'll have to come look at that this turn. Flying Tigers, I've got them at 50. I don't feel comfortable really taking them much below 50. There's just too much bomber action coming up. But as you can see, 20 fatigue. Now, get new pilot, that's kind of something we haven't really done. You can do this automatically or manually, where you request certain types. You could get a named pilot. You can go here and look which ones you want. Now, these guys that are in here, I think these must be historical to be in here. So if we did want to come get Gretz, we could do that. It looks like, so his experience is 60, his air-to-air capabilities 62. That's pretty good. Let's go get him. Yeah, he's in the general reserve now. Let's add just a few pilots to them. We'll go get Gretz here. Okay, so we've assigned them to the one that has a little more fatigue. We'll get them into the rotation. So now we've got 26 ready pilots for 25 planes. That seems fair, right? I mean, I don't think we're playing too crazy. We've got 27 and 27 here now. So, oh, whoops. Okay, well, that's what I was going to show you. If you just hit get new pilot, it will go get one based on your criteria. Now, we had it on any here. You can change your criteria to do this, what's called automatic. You could go get new pilot or get 8 pilots if you want, and then you can pull them from the different pools, or it can say any, where my understanding is the AI will go pull the best one for the mission. So you probably want to keep it on any, or you could request a veteran, or you could turn this to manual, and you could go look at the actual pilots themselves if you want to do that. 9 pilots on the list, 8 are needed. Now, why is Gretz up here? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not going to spend too much more time talking about this. Conkling, Gretz, can we get him down into this unit? I think we can. All right. Do we have more? No, we haven't pulled him. We'll come back to that at some point. It's not a part of the game I mess around with a lot. Usually I'll just go get pilots and do it on automatic. I don't manually change them, so maybe I'm a little rusty on that. Yes, P. Warner would be get regrets. What else do we have here? We've got these guys are really tired. Holy smokes. We've got 12 planes. Now these guys in the Blenheims, I have no problem whatsoever going to get 4 pilots. Replacement pool, reserve pool. Let's go get them out of the reserve pool. Now, what's the difference? Reserve pool, these guys have already been fighting in these sorts of squadrons. And their plane got shot out from underneath them. They had a squadron that got disbanded, so they went back up in the pool, things like that. So that's your reserve pool is better than, whoops, what just happened? Why would, this game sometimes with the old UI, did I do that? I don't think I did, but now I can't bring that back up. From the reserve, any replacement, you see the replacements are really kind of bottom of the barrel pilots. Shoot. Okay, well, we'll have to come back to that or that. It's not letting me get in the pool at the moment. Let's go down here and click on something else and come back. What did I hit there? That was weird. So my arrows just went away. Okay, well, later on, as we resolve these turns and actually come up here to Rangoon, we will deal with that. Moving down into Malaya, the Japanese, very strong force, it seems here, making a play for Kwanton. I'm going to say it that way. Um, and then they have a unit here that took a lore star. It took out our suicide unit that we had sent up to a lore star. Now it's going to start moving south. First, Taiping. It may jump over to Georgetown really fast. They may wait on that. I mean, there's no reason to take Georgetown strategically. Not really. The aircraft that we have here, I believe, are recon. No, they're fighter. Oh, it's that one fighter. So we've already transferred everything out of here except this one. This one just got repaired this time, so let's actually transfer that down to, now every time I say I'm not going to do this, but I don't want to forget, so they're going to get down to Singapore, get into the unit, the squadron they're supposed to be in, which we transferred last turn. But you see here, Kota Baru looking strong. They've got some kind of task force sailing over here. Oh, okay, interesting. Now this task force shows a lot of light cruisers, uh, some submarine tenders. That's kind of strange. That can't be right, but this is 9 ships. So this is a pretty big task force. I would imagine this is some kind of supplement to beef up more here in Malaya for the ultimate move south down the peninsula. So they'll be at Taiping. They're already pushing out of Kota Baru here, Temula, and then we get to Kuala Lumpur. So they're headed south. Here they come. We already talked about these invasion forces coming in here. No real action. We haven't seen a whole lot. We saw one sub over here, one Japanese sub, but other than that, not a whole lot. Now remember, we moved all those destroyers. These destroyers are coming down to help the Aussies. These are British destroyers with an 8 ASW. Up here, let's look at the Philippines. Let's see what they're doing. You see all of this Japanese activity. You see all of our submarine activity. We're going to have to make sure either this turn or next turn we go out with all those subs and change their home base back to Java. I'm not even going to say Surabaya. Gosh damn it. Anyway, I'm not even going to say it this time, even though I maybe kind of did. But we're going to change the home base of all of these subs to that. But you can see we've got a lot of subs out here trying to counter some of this invasion and follow-on invasion forces. They have now made it to San Fernando. They've also, kind of bypassing this unit, really, that's out here at Taguigaro. Okay, sure, I said that well. And they're headed for Manila, Clark Field, Bataan. Well, that's not Clark Field. That's Lingayen, Clark Field, Bataan, Manila, Cabanatuan. Sure. And they're moving north here on the island of Luzon, and we'll eventually kind of meet up here in the middle. We could never hold this, but we are trying to delay them as long as we can. They did land out here at Davao, or these ships were here anyway, and then nothing really happened. And so I don't know if that was a landing force. Bob's Gaming! What's up, Bob? Good to see you. Hey, Arthur. How are you? Yeah, Twitch. Honestly, Twitch is, not my favorite platform. I've only got 2, right? So I don't do the Facebook route. I started on YouTube. I prefer YouTube. But Twitch is just something you kind of got to do nowadays too. There's so many people that are exclusively on Twitch that I am doing that. I will lower it to 720p. I mean, ultimately, I don't see that big of a difference in quality. I can see in War in the East why people would want it. But for out here, you can see the ships, you can see the islands. I think you can see all the text in 720p. I've been streaming in it the last few weeks, and everybody seems okay with it. Now, here was a big development. Enemy task force is out here at Tarakan. We're only showing the AK right now, so a cargo ship. There's you know, we said this was unescorted out here. I really don't, this is moved kind of this way, and I don't really don't know what it is. It seems to be a cargo task force that has kind of lost its way. Maybe we need to stage an intervention as friends and have a sit down talk with it. It's just been wandering here. Why we haven't blown it out of the water, I'm not exactly sure. We did dial back the reaction at Jalo here, and maybe that's how it slipped by. I'm not too worried about it because the guns of Tarakan, when they fire, the world sits up and listens. Those guns will destroy stuff. Blinking duck! Um, Blinking duck, I don't believe you, but I do, I do like the comments. Yeah, randomly is that normal for the Japanese to show up off of the East Coast? Um, Hey, Flora, what's going on? Oh, we do have, what is this? Oh, this is the Canopus. We saved it. You may remember in the resolve yesterday, the AS Canopus was hit. This is a submarine tender, which is very useful down in Australia because you don't have many of them. And Darwin and Townsville, neither one are really set up as subports yet. And so getting the Canopus out of here is generally very good. Well, we have a Japanese sub that hit it. We're on 77 float, but it looks like we've contained the fire. So we've got some engine damage. We've got a little bit of a fire burning. It is taking on water. 77 float, obviously that's dead red there. Systems damage is okay, but I think with this engine, and we've almost put out the fire, we can actually get this thing to Darwin. I think that can happen if it doesn't get hit again. Whenever you have a ship that's been hit and it's suffered damage and you're trying to get it somewhere else, you'll see this little E on the icon to let you know that's kind of like quote unquote escort. You don't really see the ship in the game, but it's trying to simulate the fact that you would have had some kind of tug or something go out there and try to help this get back. Now, if they were simulating it properly, which would be impossible, right? I mean, it's already amazing enough this game goes to the extent it does, and that we know there's 77 float damage, for instance, and that it even shows escort here. But, historically now, they would have just taken this thing back to whatever port they could get it into, try to repair it a little bit. This game's going to have it slow down. It's going to be moving like a hex a turn and get down to Darwin. But we do still have, 2 speed. Look out. Look out. These hexes are 40 nautical miles. And so at 2 nautical per pulse, we're not exactly killing it across the water there. But yeah, it will eventually get down to Darwin unless it gets hit again. This is wounded prey out here, so maybe the Japanese will keep coming for it. Yeah, it'll get there in 1944. That's right. Thanks for following, Bob. I do appreciate it. Okay, yeah, so we've got this task force out here. Usually I'd be very worried about that off of Tarakan. I don't think that is actually an invasion force of any sort. I think that's a force that doesn't, or a task force that doesn't know where else to go. So we saw that this time. This submarine, this Japanese submarine that was here, we just didn't really see much more to that. Nothing else happened. The Japanese have been bombing Rabaul, which means they do have an invasion force coming. We don't see it yet. That could be because it hasn't left yet. It could be because we just haven't spotted it yet. It may be close. We've been seeing in the resolves a lot of things coming in here to Babel Dawab, staging up, I assume, for the eventual invasion down at Rabaul. That's the AI loves to come in and take Rabaul, so I'm fully expecting that will happen soon. Coast of Australia. Usually at this point you have got a lot of Japanese sub activity off the main ports in Australia. This time we do not, at least not yet, so that's good. Looks like we got our base force to Lord Howe. We do have another one that needs to go to Norfolk. This time, we'll go back out here to Nomaya. Luganville, we talked quite a bit about last time, out of the islands of Espiritu Santo. I just like to say that. Suva, we got things going out to Pago. Now, Pago does not have enough supply, and we got to get some continuous supply coming down from Pearl Harbor for that. We've got all these task forces going to the U.S. West Coast. I'll try to get to the West Coast this time. We probably need to do some stuff over there. Although when the Yorktown comes in, we'll really get everything lined up over here exactly the way we want it. But you've always got so much fuel and supply over here that you do not want any cargo ships just sitting around. You see, we have 7 ships in port in LA, and we've got only 1 here at San Diego. That's not bad. I think do we have more in San Fran? We've only got 4 there, and really, you know, some capital ships. What do we have? Oh, we have these destroyers out here. Oh, great. We'll go and set those up this time as well. So with that, I think I'm going to call it an episode. This week, we'll see whether it's actually a live stream. We'll see what my hotel, how good the internet is. I may have to just load them up, which is too bad. I have a great time doing this with you guys every day at 10 a.m. And so we'll see what happens. I'll have to get my base of operations established down in Cancun, and then we'll see how much I can stream and how much I'll just load up. Either way, I will load up something at 10 a.m. every day. Whether that just you see my smiling face with a little bit a progressively better tan, and maybe progressively acting more hungover from margaritas. I don't know. Could be. Either way, it'll either be recorded or live, but I will internet Mexico. It sounds like it could be testy down there, Stanley. I don't know. It's supposed to be a nice resort, but Spectrum here in California is nothing to be too proud of. So hell, who knows down there? They may actually have better internet for all the spring breakers. Why this friend of my wife's decided, hey, the best time to have a wedding in Cancun is during spring break after the kids have been locked up for a year. I don't know, but it should be interesting. Should take me back to my youth. That is for sure. But yeah, I will be getting videos or live streams up every day. Why not? This is how I have my fun. So thank you guys very much. I do appreciate it. Hey, Bob, thanks a lot for following, subbing. Same with you, Floor. I saw that you, or at least it popped up today. Arthur, good to see you. Stanley, everybody, always good to see you. P. Warner are always with the good comments. Bob's gaming extravaganza. I just love that name, so that's all good. So thank you guys so much, and I'll be talking to you. If I don't talk to you live, it'll be by recording. I'll say I'm being held hostage in Mexico or something. No, I probably shouldn't joke about that. Anyway, you guys have a good